We're talking to Chief Executive of Telecom New Zealand, and now we're going to get into some of the specifics of product and UFB and all that sort of stuff. We'll get to the nitty-gritty of the services and technologies. So, how do you think UFB's going at the moment? I mean, there's problems.
Look, I think we're still early days it took us 150 years to roll out and successfully use the copper network, so I'm not surprised that it's taken a wee while to figure out how to maximise the processes and get the benefits from the UFB program. We're well underway. What I can say is customer demand is very good, so we're not finding it difficult to sell. The challenges are mostly on the supply side. There is a lot of learning, and we're principally dealing with Chorus at the moment. Our systems are not yet able to connect with the other LFCs. We're close to that. We're about to start with the others.
The others are relatively small.
They are 30% of New Zealand.
Power,
there's three other LFCs and Christchurch.
Yeah.
But we're very keen to get on with them, so it's just that our systems were always linked to Chorus, so that was where we were already joined up. We've been having to build the capability to connect with the operating systems of the other three fibre companies, but we're not far away from that. We're within months now of getting going, and I think we're within literally within 1 or 2 months of getting under a meaningful trial. So I'm pleased with consumer demand. But we are still all struggling with the capacity and the complexity of getting a fibre connected and up and running. Those processes are still clunky.
So, I mean, one of the key issues here is that when they modelled the separation, they thought the cost of connection was going to be somewhere between $300 or $400 per house. And on that basis, they assumed that Chorus's share of the revenue would be sort of $35 per month per connection, and that would pay for those connection costs. Actual costs are running way higher than that, sort of in excess of $1,000, maybe $1,200, $1,300, $1,400. How big of an economic problem is that?
I genuinely do not know the answer to that. So I don't have any of those facts. So I would suspect certainly today that the cost would be above the long-run view, but they're still in the learning process. So if I were at Chorus, I'd still be figuring, how do we learn every day from what was the best ways to get a connection done. And so I'm sure they'll be resolute about bringing down in that cost. I would expect so, but whether it ever matches what they're planning or business case, I don't know, because I don't know what the assumptions were, and I wasn't here at the time of separation, and I'm assuming I've never gone and looked back, so I don't know the answer to that. But in the end, they've got a contract. They're obliged to make those connections free of charge to New Zealanders, and they're obliged to meet certain service standards. And we're relying on them because we're a retailer and we've got customers on the end of these transactions. And the worst thing I could possibly do is encourage our East customers to take these new services and then for them to have a poor or delayed experience, and we're not on for that. So our expectation is Chorus and all the fibre companies that they will perform to their contract, and we're happy with the contract terms. We don't need those made better, we just need them delivered against.
Yeah. So, I mean, this we're going to talk about regulatory policy around that a little bit later. But in the meantime, you're putting a bit of a focus on the VDSL product, and you're calling it ultra broadband.
Less so a focus, more just it is apparent. All our market testing showed that customers have the appetite for speed and quality, which is fantastic. We're in the business of providing that, and particularly video-based, more and more intense use of high data applications means the demand for speed is increasing. Well, that's good. It's good for customers to get it. It's good for our business to deliver it. So the challenge for us with fibre alone, if we focus only on fibre as a solution, is there's still very low coverage, it's low availability, it's challenged. So how do you market? You run an advert, 95% of the people who rang and said I'd like to take the product, we then have to say, well, I'm sorry, it's not available. That's hopeless. So by combining the concept of faster copper using VDSL and fibre as a single idea allows us to do mass marketing and just be able to say yes to most customers when they ring in and they say they like that service. That is a much better way for us to do business, and there's no doubt in our mind in the end, fibre's the most desirable product. So we don't have an issue that once fibre's available, that most customers who take VDSL will of course want to upgrade them to fibre. So we'll be happy to help.
There's been massive competitive changes in the broadband market. Data caps are much higher, speeds are much higher. The last 2 years it's seen a very, very competitive market there. Do you see that pricing data caps and services market in the broadband area continuing to evolve rapidly?
Look, I don't actually. I think it's potentially around how data caps evolve, but there's a couple of parameters that start to look like limiters. If you think about the current price point, less GST, so the typical standard family plan houses around $75, ex GST, call it 65. 45 of it is going to chorus, so there's actually only $20 in the middle of that equation today, which is providing all the internet connectivity, all of the networking, all of the international connectivity, all of the help desk work. So that's the amount retailers have got in the equation, and there's a lot of costs associated with that. So that's why I referred to it before as a profit-free zone. It's actually it's pretty hard to make money at $75 on broadband. I think you'll find most retailers will say if they're making $1, it's not much. It'll be less than $1. So that is the reality of that price point. I think what we're looking to see is that as people move up in speed, that maybe we can gain some benefit from that as providers, but it will shift us more upstream into what are the content and services, why we're interested in subscription television services and things like that. So it's tough to make money at $75 on broadband. So
does that mean that there's the mobile revolution, mobile data is clearly centre to where change is coming from? Is that more of a focus for innovation or for pricing change or for?
Look, we see mobile, particularly with 4G. 4G improves the economics of delivering gigabytes via cellular, but it doesn't bring it anywhere near the economics of fixed. So it's irrelevant to a lower volume household or to an area which is stressed in terms of the fixed economics. So therefore, in the more rural or less populous areas, where the cost per customer of fixed access increases dramatically because there's low customer density, mobile and cellular data delivery solution becomes a very real competitive play. So that's where the 700 MHz digital dividend spectrum for 4G is an anchor, and our view is that spectrum needs to be made available soon at modest cost so we can rapidly deploy at scale genuine fast broadband, because 4G will run as fast as the low spec fibre products the lower spec fibre. 4G will do at least that performance in rural. So it's a game changer for rural New Zealand. So we're very keen to see it move there. And in the more urban areas, the cellular data combined with Wi-Fi provides the on the move. The mobile aspect and becomes a genuine substitute for a low volume consumer. So, if you're a consumer who just does email and a little bit of social media or something, not really a big video watcher or whatever, absolutely cellular, may be your answer. You may not require a fixed access anymore.
So there's this tension between the pace of innovation and the cost of services, and we've always had scale issues in New Zealand because we're a little bit small and we're quite spread out. And I mean, it's been suggested to me by some people in the industry that, I mean, and you just mentioned it yourself in relation to the 4G spectrum, that if that 4G spectrum were made available at pricing which was not exorbitant, then you could have a different path of innovation that could then flow on top of that. And in fact, somebody even suggested that the spectrum could be granted for free to the major carriers in equal quantities to be truly disruptive in that market. I mean, do you have a view on whether the government ought to be thinking more laterally about how it speeds up or enables the technological innovation to be cost effective in New Zealand?
I just really think there's a trade-off, right? You can push for a very high price for the spectrum. We, ourselves and Vodafone are public listed companies. We operate inside CapEx envelopes. Vodafone will have their capital envelope set by the Vodafone Group in the UK. We're a public company. We operate inside a manageable envelope that our investors are accepting in terms of the financial returns. 2 Degrees is a startup business with with constrained access to capital. So clearly, the more the government wants for the spectrum, the less is in the kitty for the rollout and utilisation of the spectrum. So there's a balancing act, and all we've said is, look, we accept in the end it's the government's prerogative how it does this. But the truth, if it is the truth, it's not just it's genuinely not just a line to self-serving. But the truth is, if it's put through at a modest price, which balances, I don't know, taxpayer interests relative to consumers' interests, an appropriate pricing enables us to apply that cash to the rollout and the use, and that's all we're really asking. And to run a program which gets a sensible outcome and gets that spectrum doing what it really can do, which is make a game-changing move for the less populous areas of New Zealand. That's the critical outcome.
There's also the LTE devices. The latest devices are LTE already 4G capable. I mean, pretty soon if we don't have 4G fast, we will be behind. We will be a step behind the rest.
Well, they'll be okay in urban New Zealand because we can and we can and are building 1800 here. So we can in urban we can get by for a while the volume use is not too high on 1800 on our current spectrum, and Vodafone have already started there, and we're only a short while away from coming to the market with that, and I'm sure 2 Degrees can do that too. But in the end, the 700. The economics of 700 are substantially superior, and that's where you'll get large-scale coverage and certainly the reach into the less populous areas, which is just not possible economically on 1800 megahertz. It's just not possible.
Now, urban Wi-Fi is another part of this. London is now completely Wi-Fi enabled, free Wi-Fi everywhere, and proper, secure Wi-fi. That's an area that I understand you guys are looking at as well.
We're currently deploying, and you can see our Wi-Fi zone logos all around the built-up areas of New Zealand, the holiday spots, the terminal area where people are on the pause. We use our payphone network extensively for hotspots. So we see Wi-Fi as part of an integrated proposition. It just helps for our customers have that anywhere, anytime, economically acceptable experience. Not everyone can afford to fork out 4 piles of cellular data, and cellular data is more expensive to deliver than other times. So what we see,
Wi-Fi data is cheaper.
That's what I'm getting at. So we see the all data world, providing connectivity as a combination of copper, fibre, Wi-Fi, and cellular, and in a way as seamlessly as possible. The protocols don't currently enable handoff completely, but as seamlessly as possible for people to have, and as the protocols improve, we'll embed them and adjust that. But we buy into the Wi-Fi strategy, and we're building it right now.
And you're building it in a secure fashion as well, which is safe.
Yep, we'll be building it in a way that telecom customers are authenticated to it, and it's a closed and safe service.
A key part of the picture in terms of the future of New Zealand internet connectivity is content. Sky is still pretty dominant in the space, although they're coming off the boil, and you can see their share price is indicating that the market doesn't think they're going to remain dominant. Where do you see the challenges coming from?
I think the challenge, it's no different from the challenge music companies have faced in the past, or the CD industry, or the newspaper or media industry is facing today, or else the network of things and the capacity of it and the fast data capability of it means that the time is now for a large amount of video content to be able to be accommodated via the internet or via networks. And in the past, it has never, when I left here 4 years ago, it wasn't really feasible. It would have been way more expensive to deliver TV and movie content via the internet then than it is to distribute it via satellite or terrestrial broadcast capability. Today, the economics are closed, so it's a real issue now, and therefore the models for content delivery are going to profoundly change over time. And I think Sky is no different to any other business to adapt to a changing delivery mechanism. Sky would say it's in the content business, not the delivery business anyway. So I'm sure that the team at Sky will just start to adopt internet-based delivery models as part of its proposition, and all that will happen is they'll face new competitors. And Coliseum is a good example recently of one tuning up in New Zealand, but Apple TV's been offering movies in New Zealand for a while, and YouTube's been pumping video through the internet for several years, and so that's just the new way of the world.
So the other thing is global mode. I mean, essentially opening up some of the big US services or big European services to New Zealand customer access. Now, the legal questions around that don't seem to be that. I mean, it doesn't actually seem to be, you're paying for the content, although it may not be what the distributors want, and it may not be in accordance with their contracts. I mean, global mode's now being offered by some telecommunications providers.
Look, I'm not au fait with all of the law and whether they're taking some risk or breaching things, but clearly digital rights, geographic digital rights, are going to be an issue that content owners around the world are going to deal with over time. And so typically they are the reason why New Zealand doesn't have some of the services that are available. It's not a technology issue. For Apple TV, last time I looked, still doesn't offer television programs in New Zealand as it does in the USA. It's not because Apple TV can't do it in New Zealand technologically. It is just they haven't acquired the rights to do those things in New Zealand. So digital rights, I think the whole process will move and adapt quite quickly to, and you won't need all these tricky moves to circumvent them. Content providers will want their content consumed all over the world, and they'll sort out with various providers the rights to do it. And that's, again, the music industry early on, you couldn't get some music content because it was, today you can get it all from multiple providers. So that'll all change quite quickly.
Thank you.